All right guys, so as seasons change, so too do your fitness goals, what you are striving towards. And so now maybe you've been going to the gym for a few months, a few years, and you're wondering, what phase should I be in right now? Because there absolutely is a time to cut, a time to put on size. You don't want to be the guy who forever bulks, but on the flip side, you also don't want to be the guy who is cutting forever, you're just a twink. You got the twink build, you're super skinny, and you have no strength, no size, no definition. Sure, the definition might be there, you might be cut, the abs might be popping, you might have the veins, but at the end of the day, when you do embark on a cut, like, you want to have something underneath. So cut bulk cycles can become pretty ominous, pretty vague, and feel like you're just really spinning your wheels. It can get pretty discouraging. A lot of guys choose the goal or switch the goal based on how they're feeling this week. Are the cravings too much to handle? And the food noise is too loud, I can't turn it down and control it. Well, actually, I've been wanting to increase my incline bench, so maybe I shouldn't be cutting. Maybe I should really just commit to a bulk. Finally, long term. Oh no, I'm starting to get fat. What was I thinking? What an idiot.
Stupid, I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
I gotta get back on that 1,000 calorie deficit a day. The problem is when you leave it to your feelings, when you kind of let the alarm bells push you off the wagon too soon, that's when you really run into some problems. Now, if you look at my photo, this is a photo from back in June of last year. But from this starting point, I had been pretty heavily into lifting. Like, I think I developed a pretty solid physique late high school, early college, I'd say. COVID hit, I got really skinny, lost a lot of size. Still kind of kept up with some workouts, but obviously the gym's closed, so I kind of just scraped by. And then pretty much from then up until that June was focusing on, yeah, okay, I can get back in the gym, I can lift. Probably I lifted average maybe 2 times a week, kind of for years on end. And then I just ate whatever I wanted. I decided I wanted to bulk because I thought I had gotten too skinny. And that just ended up being a license to eat junk. And so I did. But as we all know, generally as the seasons run, you cut in preparation for summer and then you bulk during the winter and cover up with layers. Now I think that school of thought has changed a little bit with the whole lean is law movement, because sure, you can kind of cover up and wear a hoodie, wear a sweater, wear a quarter zip, kind of cover up the lack of vascularity and definition. But the face card is something that is kind of undeniable. And some of you guys are more fortunate to where you don't really carry as much of that fat accumulated from a bulk in your face. It kind of spreads out neck down. I'm not one of those guys, unfortunately. I turn into a freaking saucer of a face. Like, I get the JD Vance face.
What a joker.
For me, I don't think I can let myself go above 12, 13% ever again. I think pretty sweepingly, men, and I guess women, underestimate their body fat percentage drastically, like drastically. Unless you've looked at a lot of dudes shirtless and understand the nuances between a single percentile, even a single digit. And this is something that I did myself, absolutely, until took the photos, uploaded them, and was like, no.
Damn!
The whole other different side of, like, what should you start with? What should you be doing right now specifically? Because the context is different, where your body is starting is different, your lifting experience. There's so many factors to kind of weigh in before you can definitively say, I should cut. And so a pretty easy way to kind of have the decision be made for you when it comes to more so facts as opposed to how you feel, what you think you should be doing, what you're afraid of losing. Let's talk about that. So making the decision. This is what I did. I took my before photos from various angles, different lighting, and kind of had some full coverage shots. Fed it into my AI program of choice. You say, hey, how fat am I? Calculate my body fat percentage. I think if we're going for kind of a higher standard and we're shooting for like peak aesthetics in the end, if that's the end game for you, 18% and above, do a cut, 12% and below, do a bulk. Now, if you aren't satisfied, if you want to see what your genetic potential is, where the ceiling is for you, I think the numbers might change a little bit. I think if you are 15% and above, you should do a cut. So that's kind of thinking about it from the body fat percentage perspective. Just to recap really quick, if you're 15% or up, do a cut. If you're 10% or below, maybe think about a bulk. The next thing that we should think about in framing a decision, in making a decision, is going to be your training age, because that's gonna impact what you can accomplish, what you can get done. Beginners, someone between, I don't know if 2 counts, maybe 1.5 years into training, they can build muscle and lose fat simultaneously and get incredible results with a very, very minimal effort. Like, you don't have to pull supersets. Intermediate and advanced lifters, that's kind of where you need to pick a lane. That's where you need to realize, okay, maybe I do need to bulk or cut and commit. Okay, let's dive into a little decision matrix, taking a look at different snapshots of groups of people where you could maybe find yourself or resonate with one of these categories, and then we'll kind of walk through what should you guys maybe think about doing. So starting off, we're gonna talk about the beginner with high body fat. You're gonna wanna cut first. The recomp is gonna follow. It's gonna happen naturally alongside. So you will be able to increase strength. You will be able to gain muscle and a little bit of size, even though you're on a caloric deficit. If you're low body fat and a beginner, like if you're a pretty skinny dude, absolutely lean bulk. Okay, so now that we've come to a decision, or perhaps kicking and screaming, you've realized what you need to do, because the numbers aren't gonna lie. I'm very biased because it's what I've done and it's kind of transformed a lot of things for me. But I would just say, like, if you're kind of 50-50, if you're ready to flip a coin or you keep going back and forth on the decision, I would just say start with a cut. Just commit to a cut, because it does more for you than just affect gym life. It affects silhouettes. It affects the way that your clothes fit you. It affects the face in a pretty astounding way. And ultimately, when you think of end game physique, or the ideal thing that most men are going for, the ideal look, it's gonna be lean. Like, a cut is gonna be the vehicle to get you there. So why not start with that? I really do think that cutting first and then auditing and figuring out, okay, well, what are we actually working with here? What's not being covered up? You might be surprised. You might be very surprised. Like,
oh my God.
A lot of times guys who are not objectively big just look bigger once you strip off the fat, once you show what has been built underneath. So to tie this all into identity and who we're becoming as men together, I think the guy who makes a deliberate, informed choice about what phase to start and dive into, that translates, absolutely. The decision-making process kind of bleeds over into other aspects of life. And so that's the standard, to make deliberate, intentional choices about the things that are important. What are you guys doing? Are you in a phase where you're cutting, you're bulking? Curious to hear from you guys. Would love to get the conversation going. Thanks so much for spending your time with me. I don't know why you guys do it, but we're having fun. So I guess we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.